The paper trembles in my hands. My stepson Jake stands over me, eyes burning with a rage I've never seen before, and through clenched teeth he whispers the words that will shatter everything I've built. Sign it, or you'll regret it. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let me take you back to where this nightmare truly began, on a peaceful morning in Amsterdam, when I still believed love could conquer anything. The canal water sparkles like diamonds in the early sunlight as I wrap my arm around Kiana, the woman who changed my life 3 years ago. We're sitting on our favorite wooden bench, watching bicycles roll past and listening to the distant ring of tram bells echoing through the narrow streets. This city, famous for its progressive tolerance, its acceptance of differences, became our sanctuary. Kiana leans into me, her smooth dark skin warm against mine, and I kiss her temple softly, breathing in the moment. She came here from Paramaribo years before we met, bringing with her the vibrant traditions of Surinamese culture that now fill our canal house with warmth and color. In this moment, surrounded by orange-tiled row houses catching the morning light, everything feels perfect. Everything feels safe. She squeezes my hand and whispers, "Thank you." And I have no idea that in just a few short weeks, those same hands will be shaking as she tells me to surrender everything we've built together. But that morning by the canal, I'm just grateful. Grateful for the second chance at love, grateful for the family we've created. Our story started in an art gallery 3 years earlier, one of those trendy Amsterdam openings where champagne flows and pretentious conversations echo off white walls. I noticed Kiana standing before a painting by a Surinamese artist, her eyes absolutely luminous as she explained the symbolism to a small group gathered around her. I was enchanted. We talked for hours that night, and when the gallery closed, we danced slowly in the empty space, our shadows stretching across the polished floors. Art became our language, our shared passion, the thread that wove us together. We moved in together quickly, maybe too quickly, some would say, but when you know, you know. Her favorite books about Surinamese history found their place next to my vintage rock records. Her spices transformed my bland Dutch cooking, and most importantly, her son Jake became part of my world. I'll never forget the first time I babysat that energetic toddler. His smile lit up the room as he stumbled around on uncertain legs, learning to walk, mixing Dutch and English words in the most adorable way. Though I wasn't his biological father, I loved him like he was my own. I took him fishing by the Amstel River, even when he grew bored and complained. I read him bedtime stories in both languages. I helped him learn to ride a bicycle through our neighborhood, running behind him with my hand on the seat until he was ready to fly on his own. I'd read all the advice, you see. Articles about step-parenting, books about blended families. One expert, I forget his name, maybe Michael something, emphasized that step-parents should build trust first, not immediately assert authority. So that's what I did. I focused on connection, on being present, on showing Jake through actions that I wasn't trying to replace his father, just love his mother and, hopefully, earn his trust. And for years, it worked beautifully. Our household thrived. Every weekend, Kiana and I protected our couple time, sacred date nights while Jake visited his grandmother. Sometimes we'd walk silently along the canals under amber streetlights, hand in hand, not needing words. Other times we'd host paint nights in our living room, laughing as we created terrible art and drank wine. I remember one rainy evening, dancing barefoot on our old wooden kitchen floor, Kiana pressing her forehead against mine and whispering that she'd never felt so safe with anyone. Her hips swayed gently against me, and I felt like the luckiest man in Amsterdam. Romance wasn't dead in our household. It was the foundation everything else was built on. We worked hard at being a team. We reminded ourselves constantly, our family, not yours versus mine. Jake was ours. The decisions were ours. The life we built was ours together. Sure, our worlds were different. My Dutch friends played football on Sundays, while Kiana's Surinamese community gathered for dance rehearsals and church. Jake loved navigating both cultures, learning Sran and Tongo phrases from his mother's side and Dutch jokes from mine. I attended every soccer game, every school awards ceremony, chest swelling with pride like he was my own blood. When Kiana got stuck late at work, I picked him up without hesitation. That's what CO parents do. That's what family does. I'd read somewhere that about 16% of children live in blended families. Sitting on our balcony that late summer afternoon, watching Kiana knit while Jake kicked a ball around below, I thought we'd beaten the odds. We'd created something beautiful from separate pieces. I promised myself to always be patient, always be present. But patience has its limits, and presence can become suffocating when you don't realize the storm gathering on the horizon. Jake turned 18, and everything changed. He started staying out later, his responses growing shorter, sharper. One evening, washing dishes, I overheard him on the phone with Kiana. "I don't need him, Mum. He never understands me." The words hit like a punch to the chest. The next night at dinner, he snapped at me over a simple question about his day, and the tension in the room became thick enough to choke on. Kiana's brow furrowed. She knew our parenting styles were clashing. I was structured, calm, consistent. She was flexible, more willing to bend. And Jake was learning to exploit that gap. His grades slipped. Doors started slamming. One night he stormed out into the rain, and Kiana and I just stared at each other across the table, worry etched into every line of her beautiful face. "He's been acting out since school ended," she said wearily, but I could hear the fear underneath. I suggested taking him to the Rijksmuseum, hoping culture might inspire him like it once inspired us. Kiana shook her head. "He doesn't care about that stuff anymore." Then came the night that changed everything. Kiana took an extra shift at work, and I came home to find Jake hunched over our coffee table, a document spread before him. His face was twisted with an anger I'd never seen, not in all our years together. "What's wrong?" I asked calmly, trying to be the steady presence I'd always been. He told me to mind my own business. When I reached for the document, he snatched it away. My heart started pounding as I glimpsed my name at the top, a signature line at the bottom. And then Jake looked up at me with eyes full of pure hatred and growled those words I told you about, the ones that would destroy everything. "So here's what I need you to tell me. When the child you raised as your own turns against you and the woman you love asks you to surrender everything you've built together, what would you do? Sign it, or you'll regret it." Those words hang in the air between us like poison gas, and I can feel my entire body go rigid. Jake's standing over me, this document clutched in his trembling hands, and suddenly, the boy I, taught to ride a bicycle, has become someone I don't recognize. Someone dangerous. My throat goes dry as sandpaper as I try to process what's happening in my own living room. The living room where we've celebrated birthdays, where we've watched movies curled up together as a family, where just last Christmas Jake hugged me and thanked me for the guitar I'd saved up to buy him. That Jake is gone. The young man glaring at me now has murder in his eyes. "Jake," I managed to say, my voice barely above a whisper, "what is this? What do you want me to sign?" He doesn't answer immediately. Instead, his eyes dart toward the door, then back to me, and I can see something churning behind his expression. Not just anger, but fear. Real, visceral fear. It doesn't make sense. What could an 18-year-old kid possibly be afraid of that would make him threaten the man who's been his father for years? The man who sat up with him when he had nightmares, who drove him to football practice at 6 in the morning, who defended him when his teachers said he wasn't trying hard enough. I reach for the document, moving slowly like I'm approaching a wild animal, and this time Jake doesn't pull it away. My hands are shaking as I lift the paper into the light from our floor lamp, the lamp Kiana and I picked out together at that vintage market in De Peep, and I start reading. The words swim before my eyes at first, my brain refusing to process what I'm seeing. It's a property transfer agreement, our townhouse, the canal house that Kiana and I scraped together every euro to afford, the place where we built our life, where Jake has his bedroom decorated with football posters and string lights. The document would sign it all over to Jake. All of it. The house, our savings account, even the small investment portfolio I'd been building for our future. Everything. "You've known how I felt all these years," Jake says, and his voice cracks on the word years. "You took everything from me. If you want to see the car my college fund, Everything I was supposed to have. I'll make you sign right now. I stare at him, my mind reeling. What is he talking about? What did I take? I gave him everything I had. My time, my patience, my love. I chose him. When Kiana and I started dating, I knew she came with a child, and I embraced that. I wanted that. Did he somehow think I was stealing from him? That loving his mother meant taking something away from him? But before I can ask, before I can try to understand this madness, I hear the front door open. Kiana's home early. The sound of her keys hitting the bowl in the entryway, that familiar domestic sound that usually fills me with warmth, now sends ice through my veins. Because somehow, I know that what happens in the next few minutes will determine everything. What's going on? Kiana's voice comes from the hallway, and I can hear the concern already creeping in. She must sense the tension, must feel the electricity crackling through our home. Her footsteps quicken, and then she's in the doorway, still in her work clothes. Her beautiful face creased with confusion as she takes in the scene. Her husband sitting frozen on the couch, her son standing over him with a document. Both of them locked in some terrible standoff. "Jake," she says, moving into the room. "Jason, what's happening?" And this is the moment. This is where I expect my wife, my partner, my love, my teammate in this blended family we've built, to see the insanity of what's happening and stand beside me. This is where she'll ask Jake what he thinks he's doing, demand an explanation, remind him that we're a family and we work things out together. This is where Kiana will be Kiana, the woman who danced with me in the kitchen and promised we'd always face the world as one. But that's not what happens. Jake turns to his mother, and I see something pass between them. Some unspoken communication that excludes me entirely. And when Jake holds out the document toward me again, his hand steadier now, more confident, Kiana takes a step forward. "Jason," she says softly, and there's something in her voice I've never heard before. Something that makes my stomach drop. "Sign it." The world tilts. Did I hear that correctly? Did my wife, the woman I've loved with every fiber of my being for 3 years, the woman I've built a life with, the woman whose son I've raised as my own, did she just tell me to sign away everything we have? "Kiana," I breathe, and I can hear my voice breaking. "What are you saying?" She won't meet my eyes. That's what kills me. She's looking at the floor, at the coffee table, at Jake, anywhere but at me. Her shoulders are hunched, her hands clasped in front of her like she's trying to hold herself together, and I realize with horrifying clarity that she's already made her choice. Before I even knew there was a choice to make, she made it, and she didn't choose me. "Mom, don't listen to him." Jake's voice cuts through my shock, sharp and desperate. "You promised. You said—" "I know what I said," Kiana interrupts, and now she does look up, but at Jake, not at me. There's something happening here that I'm not part of, some conversation or agreement that took place without me, and the betrayal of that hits harder than anything else. How long have they been planning this? How many discussions happened behind closed doors while I was at work, or sleeping, or stupidly believing that we were a united family? I try to stand, but my legs won't cooperate. The document is still in my hands, and I look down at it again, hoping I misread it, hoping this is some elaborate misunderstanding. But no, it's all there in black and white. Legal language that would strip me of everything I've worked for, everything I've invested not just financially but emotionally. Every morning, I woke up early to make Jake breakfast before school. Every night, I helped him with his homework, even when I was exhausted from my own job. Every weekend, I chose to spend building our family instead of going out with friends. Every single sacrifice I made because I loved them. All of it, apparently, worth nothing. Why? The word comes out strangled, barely human. I look up at Kiana, searching her face for the woman I know, the woman I love. "Why are you doing this?" For the first time, tears appear in her eyes. But she doesn't answer. She doesn't explain. She just stands there, frozen between her husband and her son, and I realize with a sinking horror that she's already made her choice clear. Blood is thicker than water. Biology trumps love. The bond she has with Jake, the child she carried, who carries her DNA, will always be stronger than whatever we built together. Maybe I was foolish to think it could be any other way. You left me, Jake says suddenly, his voice rising. You never loved me. You were always just using us, using Mom, playing house until you got what you wanted. Well, now I'm old enough to do something about it. Sign it. He slams his hand on the coffee table and the sound echoes through the room like a gunshot. Kiana flinches but still doesn't speak, doesn't defend me, doesn't tell her son that he's wrong. The silence is damning. I think back to all those articles I read about step-parenting, all that advice about building trust first. Was I not patient enough? Did I push too hard? Or not hard enough? I remember one particular evening when Jake was maybe 13 and he'd gotten in trouble at school for talking back to a teacher. I'd sat him down calmly, explained why respect was important, and instead of grounding him like Kiana wanted to, I'd suggested we work on a project together, build something with our hands to channel his frustration. We'd spent that weekend constructing a bookshelf for his room, working side by side, barely talking but somehow connecting. When we finished, Jake had looked at me with something like pride in his eyes and said, "Thanks, Dad." Dad. He called me Dad. Was that a lie? Was all of it a lie? I don't understand, I say, and I hate how weak my voice sounds, how broken. Jake, I've been here for you. Every day, every single day since you were 5 years old, I've been here. Your football games, your school plays, when you broke your arm falling off your bike and I sat with you in the emergency room for 6 hours, you were there because you had to be. Jake shouts, and now the tears are streaming down his face too. Because of Mom. Not because you wanted to be with me. You never wanted me. You wanted her, and I was just part of the package deal. The accusation hits me like a physical blow. Is that what he really thinks? That he was some obligation I tolerated to be with Kiana? How could he possibly believe that when I've loved him with everything I have? But even as I ask myself that question, a horrible doubt creeps in. Did I love him? Really love him? Or did I love the idea of being a father, of having a ready-made family? When I looked at Jake, did I see him as an individual or as an extension of Kiana, a necessary component of the life I wanted to build? No, that's not true. I know it's not true. I remember the fierce protectiveness I felt when Jake was being bullied in primary school. I remember the pride that swelled in my chest when he scored his first goal in an official match. I remember holding him when he cried, after his biological father cancelled yet another promised visit. Those emotions weren't manufactured. They were real, weren't they? Jake, I start, trying to find the words that will reach him through whatever wall he's built between us. I know stepfamilies are complicated. I know it's not the same as having your real father around, but I've tried. Don't. He cuts me off viciously. Don't you dare act like you tried. You know what you did. We all know. What I did. What the hell is he talking about? I look desperately at Kiana, pleading silently for her to explain, to give me some context for this nightmare. But she's staring at the floor again, tears dripping onto her work blouse, and she won't speak. The silence stretches between us like a chasm, and I'm suddenly aware of all the sounds of our home that usually fade into the background, the old radiator hissing in the corner, the clock ticking on the wall, the antique one Kiana bought at a flea market and restored herself, the distant sound of a boat horn on the canal, all these familiar, comforting sounds that should mean safety and home, and instead they're witnessing my complete destruction. My hands are trembling so badly now that the document is shaking, making the words blur even more. I try to focus, try to read through the legal jargon to understand exactly what I'd be signing. It's not just the house and the savings. There are clauses about waiving rights to any shared property, about accepting full responsibility for debts even though most of them are in both our names, about forfeiting any claim to Kiana's pension or future earnings. This isn't just a property transfer, it's financial suicide. If I sign this, I'll walk away from this relationship with nothing. Less than nothing. I'll be in debt and homeless. After 3 years of building a life together, after raising another man's child as my own, after loving Kiana with every piece of my heart. Nothing. I can't sign this, I say, and my voice is firmer now, some survival instinct finally kicking in. Jake, I don't know what you think I've done or what you're trying to accomplish, but this is insane. This document would leave me with nothing. It would ruin me financially. Good, Jake spits. You deserve it. You deserve worse than that. I look at Kiana again, desperately searching for any sign that she's going to intervene, that she's going to stop this madness. And for a moment, just a brief, fleeting moment, I see conflict in her eyes. I see the woman I fell in love with struggling against something, fighting some internal battle. Her lips part like she's about to speak, about to finally explain what's happening. But then Jake makes a sound, something between a sob and a laugh, and whatever Kiana was about to say dies. She closes her mouth, closes her eyes, and when she opens them again, they're distant, unreachable. Jason, she says again, and her voice is hollow. Please, just sign it, please. She's saying please like she's asking me to pass the salt, like this is some minor inconvenience instead of the complete annihilation of everything we are. How can she stand there and ask me to destroy myself so calmly? No, I say, and I stand up now, my legs finally cooperating. The document falls from my hands onto the coffee table, and I take a step toward Kiana, reaching for her. No, I won't. Not until someone explains to me what's happening. Kiana, you owe me that much. After everything we've been through, after everything we've built, you at least owe me an explanation. But before my hand can reach her, Jake moves between us. He's taller than me now. When did that happen? And there's something in his posture that reads as threatening, protective of his mother, against me. Don't touch her, he says, low and dangerous. Jake, I would never, I start, horrified that he'd think I'd hurt Kiana. You already did, he shouts. You already hurt her. You hurt both of us. And now you're going to pretend like you don't know? Like you're the victim here? I don't know. I shout back, frustration and fear and heartbreak all boiling over at once. I genuinely don't know what you're talking about. What did I do? Tell me, make me understand. Jake's face contorts with rage and pain, and for a second I think he's going to hit me. His fist clenches, his whole body coils, and I brace myself. But the blow doesn't come. Instead, he grabs the document from the coffee table and shoves it against my chest, hard enough to make me stumble backward. You want to know? He hisses. Fine. You want to know what you did? Yes. I breathe. Please. Jake's eyes are wild now, darting between me and his mother, and I can see he's on the edge of something. Some precipice that once he falls from, there's no coming back. And maybe I should stop him. Maybe I should de-escalate. But I need to know. I need to understand why my family is falling apart. Jake starts, then stops. His chest is heaving, his breath coming in short gasps. You made her choose. You always made her choose. Choose what? I ask, confused. Choose between what? Between me and you? The words explode out of him. Every time we disagreed, every time I wanted something, and you didn't think it was a good idea, you made her pick a side. And she always picked you. Because you're her husband, and I'm just her son, and apparently husbands are more important than children in this twisted version of family you created. The accusation stuns me into silence. Is that true? Did I force Kiana to choose? I think back through our years together, through the arguments and disagreements. Yes, there were times when Jake wanted something that I thought was unreasonable, staying out until 2 in the morning on school nights, dropping out of his advanced classes because they were too hard, spending money we didn't have on expensive sneakers. And yes, Kiana and I discussed these things privately and came to decisions together. Isn't that what parents are supposed to do? Present a united front? But maybe to Jake, it looked different. Maybe to him, it looked like I was pulling his mother away from him, creating distance where there shouldn't be any. Maybe every time Kiana said your father and I have decided instead of just making the decision herself, like she used to before I came along, it felt like a betrayal. Oh God. Jake, I say carefully, trying to find the right words. If that's how you felt, why didn't you say something? Why didn't you talk to us? I tried. He yells. I tried so many times, but you never listened. You always had your research, your articles about blended family dynamics and step-parent strategies. You treated me like a project instead of a person. Like if you just followed the right steps, read the right books, I'd turn out perfect, and you'd be the hero who saved the broken family. Each word is a dagger, and they're finding their marks. Because there's truth in what he's saying. Painful, uncomfortable truth. I did read all those articles. I did approach step-parenting like something to be studied and mastered. I thought I was being thoughtful, prepared, but maybe Jake just saw it as calculated, manipulative. I'm sorry, I say, and I mean it. I'm sorry if I made you feel that way. But Jake, that doesn't justify. I gesture at the document still clutched in his hand. This doesn't make any sense. Even if you're angry with me, even if you feel like I came between you and your mother, why this? Why now? Jake's expression shifts, and suddenly he looks younger, vulnerable. The angry young man disappears, and I see the scared little boy underneath, and it breaks my heart all over again. Because I'm leaving, he says quietly. I got into university, in Rotterdam, and I'm going, and Mom's going to be here with you, alone, and His voice cracks. I can't protect her anymore. Protect her? From what? From me? The implication makes me feel sick. Does he really think I'm some kind of threat to Kiana? Does he honestly believe that the moment he's gone, I'll hurt his mother? Jake, I love your mother, I say, and I can hear the desperation in my voice. I would never, ever hurt her. You have to know that that's what they all say, he mutters, and there's something in those words that gives me pause. They all? Who's all? Is he talking about Kiana's ex-husband, Jake's biological father? I know that relationship ended badly. Kiana doesn't talk about it much, but I've gathered that there was emotional abuse, maybe worse. Is Jake projecting his father's behavior onto me? I look at Kiana, hoping she'll say something, hoping she'll defend me and tell Jake that I'm nothing like his father. But she's still frozen, still silent, and that silence is its own answer. She's not sure. After 3 years together, after building a life and a home and a family, Kiana isn't completely sure that I'm different from the man who hurt her before. The realization is crushing. Kiana, I say, and my voice breaks on her name. You don't really believe that, do you? You don't think I'm like him? She finally looks at me, really looks at me, and I see so much pain in her eyes that I almost can't bear it. I don't know what to think anymore, Jason, she whispers. I don't know what's real. What's real is that I love you, I say, taking a step toward her, and this time Jake doesn't stop me. What's real is that I've spent 3 years proving that to you every single day. What's real is that we're a family, and families don't destroy each other like this. Families don't lie either, Jake interjects bitterly. I haven't lied to you. I turn to him, frustrated beyond measure. About what? What have I supposedly lied about? Jake and Kiana exchange another look, and this time I see it clearly. There's something they both know, something they're holding over me, and I'm completely in the dark. The money, Jake says finally. The college fund Mom set up for me when I was born. The one that was supposed to pay for university. Where is it, Jason? The question lands like a bomb. The college fund. Oh no. Oh God, no. I feel the blood drain from my face, and I know immediately that Jake sees it. Sees the guilt, the recognition, the horrible understanding of why this is all happening. You do know, Jake says, and there's triumph mixed with a pain in his voice. You know exactly what I'm talking about. I do. Of course I do. But it's not what he thinks. It's not what Kiana apparently thinks either, judging from the way she's looking at me now with something like resignation in her eyes. Let me explain. I start, but Jake cuts me off. Explain what? How you convinced Mom to use my college money to buy this house. How you told her it was an investment in our future and we could always rebuild the fund later. How you promised her that I'd still get to go to university, that we'd figure it out, that it would all work out. That's not. It wasn't like that, I say, but even I can hear how weak it sounds. Then, how was it? Kiana asks, and it's the first time she's really engaged with me directly since she walked through the door. Because that's how I remember it, Jason. You said buying the house was important. You said we couldn't pass up the opportunity. You said we'd make it right. And I meant that. I protest. I did mean that. We have been putting money aside. The account we opened last year has less than 5,000 euros in it, Jake interrupts. University costs 3 times that per year, for 4 years. Do the math, Jason. How exactly was I supposed to afford it? The truth is, I don't have a good answer. When Kiana and I discussed using Jake's college fund as part of our down payment for the house 2 years ago, it seemed like the right decision. We were renting a tiny apartment, throwing money away every month. The housing market was competitive, and we'd found this perfect canal house, the one we're standing in right now, at a price we could actually afford if we combined our savings with Jake's fund. And Jake was only 16 then. We had time. We'd rebuild the fund before he needed it. Except we didn't. Life happened. The house needed repairs. The roof leaked. The foundation needed work. Kiana's hours got cut at her job for 6 months. My company went through restructuring, and my raise didn't come through. We kept meaning to put more into Jake's new fund, but there was always something else, always another expense. And now he's 18, and he's gotten into university, and the money isn't there. We'll figure it out, I say, knowing it sounds hollow. There are student loans, scholarships. That you'll help me apply for, Jake asks sarcastically. With what time? Between your job and your hobbies and your date nights with Mom. You've always been so busy building your perfect life that you never noticed you were dismantling mine. That's not fair, I say. But is it? Is it really not fair? I think about all those protected date nights Kiana and I insisted on, all the weekends we sent Jake to his grandmother's so we could have alone time. We told ourselves it was healthy, that maintaining our relationship would make us better parents. But maybe Jake just felt excluded, pushed aside so the adults could play house. Fair? Jake laughs, and it's a terrible sound. You want to talk about fair? Fair would have been having my college paid for like Mom promised. Fair would have been having a say in where my money went. Fair would have been you being honest instead of pretending everything was fine. I didn't pretend. You did, Kiana says suddenly, loudly, and her voice cracks like a whip through the room. We both turn to look at her, shocked by the outburst. Tears are streaming down her face now, and her hands are shaking. You did pretend, Jason. Every time I brought up the college fund, you changed the subject. Every time I worried about whether we'd have enough, you told me not to stress. You made me feel like I was being paranoid, like I was worrying for nothing. And now look where we are. I was trying to protect you, I say weakly. I didn't want you to worry. That wasn't your decision to make. She shouts. He's my son. That money was for him and you. You made me complicit in taking it from him. You made me choose between giving my child his future and having a home with you. What kind of choice is that? And there it is, the real issue. Finally out in the open. Not just the money, but what it represents. The pattern of me making decisions, guiding decisions, steering our family in the direction I thought was best, without fully considering what Kiana wanted, what Jake needed. I thought I was being a leader, a partner, but maybe I was just being controlling. I'm sorry, I say, and this time the words come from the deepest part of me. I'm so sorry. You're right, both of you are right. I should have been honest. I should have prioritized Jake's future. I should have... My voice breaks. I should have done a lot of things differently. Jake is watching me with an expression I can't quite read. The anger is still there, but there's something else too. Maybe surprise that I'm actually admitting fault. Maybe confusion about what to do with an apology he wasn't expecting. But before anyone can respond, before we can figure out where to go from here, Jake's phone buzzes in his pocket. He pulls it out, glances at the screen, and his whole demeanor changes. The vulnerability disappears, replaced by cold determination. I have to go, he says abruptly. What? Kiana looks panicked. No, we need to talk about this. We need to figure out. There's nothing to figure out, Jake says, and he's back to being hard, unreachable. Either he signs the document or I'm done. With both of you. The ultimatum hangs in the air, stark and final. Jake, please, Kiana begs, reaching for him. Don't do this. Don't make me choose. You already chose, he says coldly. You chose him over me 2 years ago when you gave him my future. Now I'm just making it official. He moves toward the door and Kiana follows him, pleading, but he won't listen. At the threshold, he turns back one last time and looks at me. You have until tomorrow morning, he says. Sign the papers and leave them on the kitchen table, or I walk out of your lives forever. Your choice. And then he's gone, the door slamming behind him with a finality that echoes through the house. Kiana stands frozen in the hallway, staring at the closed door like if she looks long enough, it might open again and Jake will come back. But he doesn't. The seconds tick by, turning into minutes, and still she doesn't move. I don't move, either. I'm stuck on the couch, the document beside me, my mind spinning in circles trying to figure out how we got here. How the family I loved so much could fracture so completely in a single evening. Finally, Kiana turns away from the door. She walks past me without a word, heading toward our bedroom. I stand, reaching for her. Kiana, wait. We need to talk about... Not now, she says without stopping. I can't. I can't. And then she's gone too. The bedroom door closing with a soft click that somehow sounds louder than Jake's slam. I'm alone in the living room with my thoughts and the impossible choice in front of me. If I sign the document, I lose everything. My home, my savings, my financial stability. I'd have to start over from scratch, probably move back in with my parents at 32 years old, rebuild my entire life. But if I don't sign it, I lose Jake. And if I lose Jake, I might lose Kiana too. Because how can I ask her to choose between her husband and her son? That's not a fair choice. That's not a choice anyone should have to make. Either way, I lose. I sink back onto the couch and drop my head into my hands. The house is so quiet I can hear my own heartbeat, fast and irregular with panic. Somewhere outside, life in Amsterdam continues, people laughing in cafes, boats gliding down the canal, bicycles ringing their bells. The city doesn't care that my world is ending. I think about the first time I saw this house, back when it was just a possibility. Kiana and I had walked through it holding hands, pointing out the high ceilings and the original molding, imagining where we'd put our furniture. She'd stood in the kitchen, the same kitchen where we'd later dance in the rain, and said, I can see us being happy here. And I'd believed her. I believed we would be. Was I wrong to use Jake's college fund? Objectively, yes. Morally, ethically, practically, yes. We should have found another way. But in the moment, it felt like we were building something, investing in a future for all of us. I thought having a stable home base would benefit Jake too. I thought we were making the right choice. I thought a lot of things that turned out to be wrong. The question is, can I fix it? Can any of this be fixed? Or is it too late? Have we passed the point of no return? I don't know. God help me, I honestly don't know. What would you do if you were in my position? If the child you loved, even if not by blood, demanded you give up everything or lose them forever, what choice would you make? How do you weigh the value of a relationship against the cost of your entire future? How do you decide between love and survival? I don't sleep that night. How could I? I sit by the window watching rain race down the glass, each drop a tiny mirror reflecting the streetlights, and I wonder if this is what rock bottom feels like. The document sits on the coffee table where Jake left it, pages slightly crumpled from when he shoved it against my chest. Every time I look at it, my stomach turns. Sign it and lose everything I've worked for. Don't sign it and lose everyone I love. Some choice. The house is eerily quiet. Kiana hasn't come out of the bedroom since she disappeared hours ago. I can picture her in there, curled up on her side of the bed, our bed, maybe crying, maybe just staring at the ceiling the way I'm staring at these rain-soaked windows. Part of me wants to go to her, to hold her, to promise that we'll figure this out together. But another part, the part that's been shattered by her silence, by her refusal to defend me, isn't sure I have the right to comfort her anymore. Around 3 in the morning, I hear movement. Soft footsteps padding down the hallway. My heart jumps. Is it Kiana? But no. The sounds are coming from the front door. I turn just in time to see it open quietly, and there's Jake trying to slip in without waking anyone. He freezes when he sees me sitting in the dark. Couldn't sleep either, I ask, my voice hoarse from hours of silence. He doesn't answer immediately, just stands there in the doorway, rain dripping from his jacket onto our wooden floor. The floor Kiana and I refinished together one long weekend, laughing as we got more varnish on ourselves than the wood. Does Jake remember helping us? He was maybe 14, and he'd picked out the color stain. Something warm, he'd said, so it feels like home. I went to Oma's house, Jake finally says, referring to Kiana's mother. His grandmother has always been his safe harbor during storms. Did it help? I ask, talking to her. He shrugs, peeling off his wet jacket. She told me I was being an idiot. That family doesn't give up on family. He laughs bitterly. But what does she know? Her husband never stole from her kid. The words sting, but I don't flinch. Jake, can we talk? Really talk. Not yell, not accuse, just talk. He looks at me for a long moment, and I can see him weighing his options. Run back out into the rain? Wake his mother? Or sit down with the man he's currently trying to destroy and have an actual conversation? To my surprise, he chooses the latter. He drops his jacket on the hook by the door and walks slowly into the living room, sitting in the chair across from me. Not next to me, that would be too much. But across, that's something. Okay, he says. Talk. Where do I even begin? How do I explain years of decisions and choices and love to someone who's convinced I'm the villain in his story? I take a deep breath and decide to start with the truth. You're right, I say, about the college fund. It was wrong. We should have found another way to buy this house, or we shouldn't have bought it at all. That money was yours, and I convinced your mother to use it for something else. I thought we'd have time to fix it, but I was wrong about that too. Jake watches me carefully, probably waiting for the justification, the excuse. When it doesn't come, his expression shifts slightly. I also need you to understand something, I continue. When I became part of your life, I didn't see you as an obligation or a package deal. I saw you as a kid who needed someone to show up for him. Your biological father wasn't doing that, and I wanted to. Not because I had to, but because I chose to. Every football game, every homework session, every fishing trip, I chose those. I chose you. But you still took my money, Jake says, and there's less venom in it now. More confusion, like he's trying to reconcile the father who showed up with the father who failed him. I did, I admit, and I can't undo that. But Jake, I need you to understand, it wasn't malicious. It wasn't calculated. I genuinely thought we were making a decision that would benefit all of us. I was wrong, but my intentions weren't evil. He's quiet for a moment, picking at a thread on the armchair. Oma said the same thing. That you're not a bad person, just a person who made a bad choice. Your grandmother is a wise woman. She also said I'm not being fair to Mom, Jake adds quietly. That Mom made her own choice about the money, and I can't just blame you for everything. This surprises me. What did you say to that? I said it was easier to blame you, he admits, and for the first time tonight, he sounds like a teenager instead of an angry adult. Because if I blame Mom, then I have to admit she chose you over me, and that... His voice cracks. That hurts too much. Oh, Jake. My heart breaks for him all over again. How did I not see this? How did I miss that underneath all his anger was just a scared kid who thought he was being replaced? Your mother didn't choose me over you, I say gently. She made a choice with me about our family's future, but she never stopped choosing you. Not once. Every decision she makes, you're part of it. Even now, even with all this chaos, she's torn apart because she loves you so much. Then why did she tell you to sign the papers? Jake asks, and I hear the real question underneath. If she loves me, why doesn't she side with me completely? Because she's terrified of losing you, I say, and because she probably feels guilty about the college fund too. She's your mother, Jake. You're her first priority. You always have been. Jake looks up at me, and I see tears gathering in his eyes. Then where does that leave you? It's such a simple question, but it cuts to the heart of everything. Where do I fit in this family equation? Am I equal to Jake in Kiana's heart, or will biology always win? And if it does, can I accept that? Can I live with being second place? I don't know, I answer honestly, but I'd like to figure it out, with both of you. As a family, even after I threatened you, even after I tried to take everything from you. Jake, you're 18 years old and you're scared about your future. You lashed out, I get it. I'm not saying what you did was okay, but I understand why you did it. I lean forward, making sure he's really hearing me. And yeah, even after all this, I still love you. That doesn't just turn off. He breaks then. The tears that have been threatening finally spill over, and his shoulders shake with silent sobs. I want to go to him, to hug him like I did when he was little and had nightmares, but I don't know if I have that right anymore. So I stay where I am, giving him space to feel whatever he needs to feel. I don't want to go to university hating you, he says through his tears. I don't want to leave with everything broken. Then let's fix it, I say simply. Not overnight, not with a signature on a document or a magic word that makes everything perfect, but piece by piece. Can we do that? Jake nods, wiping his face with his sleeve. I don't know how. Neither do I admit. But I think the first step is talking to your mom, together. All three of us, honest and open. No more secrets, no more side conversations. Everything out in the open. She's going to be so mad at me, Jake says, sounding young and worried. She's going to be relieved you're willing to talk, I counter. Trust me. We sit in silence for a few minutes, the rain finally slowing outside. The sky is starting to lighten, dawn approaching whether we're ready for it or not. And maybe that's fitting. Maybe we need the light to see clearly what we've done to each other and how to move forward. Jason, Jake says quietly. Yeah? I'm sorry. For what I said. For the things I accused you of. I was just so angry and scared and I didn't know how to... He trails off, struggling to find words. I know, I tell him, and I'm sorry too. For the fund, for not being more transparent. For every time I made you feel like you didn't matter. You do matter, Jake. You matter so much. He nods, and we fall quiet again. But this time, the silence isn't hostile. It's thoughtful, tentative, the first fragile threads of something rebuilding. Eventually, I hear another sound, the bedroom door opening. Kiana emerges, wrapped in her robe, her eyes red and swollen from crying. She stops short when she sees both of us in the living room. Jake, she says, her voice thick with emotion. You came back? Yeah, Mum, he says, standing. I came back. She crosses the room in 3 quick steps and pulls him into a fierce hug, the kind only mothers can give. The kind that says, I love you and I was worried and don't you ever scare me like that again all at once. Jake hugs her back, and over his shoulder, Kiana's eyes meet mine. There's a question in them. Maybe several questions. But mostly, are we okay? Can we survive this? I don't have a definitive answer yet, but I give her a small nod. We'll try. That's all I can promise right now. We'll try. When Kiana finally releases Jake, she keeps one hand on his arm like she's afraid he'll disappear if she lets go completely. We need to talk, she says. All of us. No more running, no more hiding. We face this together. That's what Jason said, Jake tells her. She looks at me again, and this time there's something like gratitude in her expression, or maybe hope. Then let's talk. We settle around the dining table, the same table where we've shared countless meals, celebrated birthdays, helped Jake with homework. It feels right somehow, to try to heal our family in the same space where we built it. Kiana speaks first. I owe you both an apology, she says, her voice steady despite the tears still on her cheeks. I've been trying to keep everyone happy, trying to make sure nobody felt hurt or left out, and instead, I just made everything worse. I should have talked to you, Jake, about the college fund before we made that decision. And Jason, I should have trusted you enough to work through this together instead of... She pauses, taking a shaky breath. Instead of staying silent when you needed me to speak up. Mom, it's not your fault. Jake starts. But Kiana shakes her head. Let me finish, she says gently. I let fear control me. Fear that I'd make the wrong choice. Fear that I'd hurt one of you. Fear that I couldn't keep this family together. And that fear made me freeze when I should have been fighting for us. Fighting for all of us. She turns to me. Jason, when Jake demanded you sign those papers, I panicked. I saw my son in pain and my husband confused, and I didn't know how to fix it. So I took what I thought was the easiest path. Tell you to sign it, make Jake happy, deal with the consequences later. But that wasn't fair to you. It wasn't fair to any of us. I understand why you did it, I say quietly. You're a mother first. That's how it should be. No, Kiana says firmly. I'm a mother, yes, but I'm also a wife. And I'm a person who made promises to both of you. I can't choose between those identities, and I shouldn't have to. We're supposed to be a team, all three of us. That's what blended families are supposed to be. She reaches across the table, taking one of my hands and one of Jake's. I love you both, equally, differently, but equally, and I'm tired of feeling like I have to pick sides. From now on, we're one side, our family's side. Agreed? Jake and I exchange glances, and then we both nod. Agreed, Jake says. Agreed, I echo. Good, Kiana says, squeezing our hands. Now let's talk about the real issue. Not the document, not the ultimatums. The college fund. Jake, you're right to be angry about it. That money was yours, and we used it without properly considering the impact on your future. That was wrong, and we need to make it right. But how? Jake asks. I start university in 3 months. There's no way to save that much money by then. Student loans, I suggest. Scholarships. We apply for every grant and aid program available, and Kiana and I will take on extra work. I can pick up freelance projects, your mom can take additional shifts. We'll make sure you can go to university, Jake, whatever it takes. But that's not fair to you guys, Jake protests. You'll be working constantly, and this house needs repairs, and we'll figure it out, Kiana says firmly. That's what families do. They figure it out together. Your education is important, and we're going to make sure you get it, not because we have to, but because we want to. Because investing in your future is investing in our family's future. Jake's eyes well up again. You'd really do that? After everything I said, everything I threatened? Of course we would, I say. Jake, you're our son, my son, even if not by blood. Do you really think some angry words or a mistake about money would change that? He shakes his head, tears streaming freely now. I don't deserve you guys. Stop that, Kiana says, but her tone is gentle. We all made mistakes here. We all said and did things we regret. The question now is, do we let those mistakes define us, or do we learn from them and move forward? Move forward, Jake says, without hesitation. I want to move forward. Then that's what we'll do, I say. Starting with this, I stand and walk to the coffee table, picking up the document Jake brought. Without ceremony, I rip it in half, then in half again, and again, until it's nothing but scraps of paper. No signatures, no ultimatums, no more choosing between love and security. We figure this out as a family or not at all. Jake watches the pieces flutter down to the table, and a small smile breaks through his tears. Oma's going to be so smug when I tell her she was right. Omas usually are, Kiana says with a watery laugh. It's one of their superpowers. The tension that's been choking our home for hours, maybe for months, finally starts to ease. We're not fixed. We're nowhere near perfect. But we're talking. We're trying. And sometimes that's enough. Over the next few hours, as the Amsterdam morning fully arrives with pale sunlight breaking through the clouds, we make plans. Real, concrete plans. Jake will apply to every scholarship he can find, and we'll help him with the applications. Kiana and I will meet with a financial advisor to figure out how to maximize our income without burning ourselves out. We'll have weekly family meetings, mandatory, no exceptions, where we discuss concerns and decisions openly. No more side conversations, no more secrets. And most importantly, we'll rebuild trust, not overnight, but gradually. Jake needs to trust that we have his back, that his future matters to us. I need to trust that Kiana will communicate with me instead of shutting down. Kiana needs to trust that both Jake and I will remember we're on the same team. It's a lot. It's overwhelming. But as I watch Kiana and Jake laughing over some memory from his childhood, their heads bent together over old photos Kiana pulled out, I feel something I haven't felt in hours, hope. By mid-morning, we're standing together on our balcony overlooking the Amstel River, just like we used to on lazy Sunday mornings. The storm has passed, leaving everything washed clean and bright. Boats glide peacefully down the canal. Bicycles ring their bells on the street below, and somewhere nearby a street musician is playing guitar. Jake turns to me, and there's still uncertainty in his eyes, but also something new. Maybe forgiveness. Maybe just willingness to try. "Dad," he says, and my heart nearly stops. He hasn't called me that in months. I really am sorry. For all of it. I know, I tell him, pulling him into a hug. And I'm sorry too. We're going to do better, okay? All of us. Okay, he agrees, hugging me back. Kiana joins our hug, wrapping her arms around both of us. And for a moment, we just stand there. 3 imperfect people who love each other despite their flaws, who chose each other despite their differences, who are willing to fight for their family despite how hard it gets. "I love you both," Kiana murmurs. "So much." "We love you too, Mom," Jake says. "Always," I add, kissing her forehead. We stand there as the city wakes up around us, holding on to each other and the promise of better days ahead. Because that's what we learned through this nightmare, that love isn't just a feeling, it's a choice, a daily, sometimes hourly choice to show up, to communicate, to forgive, to try again even when it's hard. In the days and weeks that follow, things slowly improve. Jake and I go fishing again, and this time when he gets bored, we talk about it instead of him just sulking. Kiana and I rededicate ourselves to being transparent with each other, even when the truth is uncomfortable. And as a family, we learn to check in, to ask questions, to not make assumptions about what the others are thinking or feeling. It's not perfect. Some days are harder than others. Some conversations end in frustration or tears. But we keep showing up. We keep trying. And slowly, painfully, beautifully, we heal. Jake gets accepted to 2 scholarship programs that cover half his tuition. Kiana picks up a promotion at work that comes with a modest raise. I land a freelance contract that pays better than I expected. And together, always together, we figure out how to make his university dream a reality. The night before Jake leaves for Rotterdam, we have one last dinner in our canal house. Kiana makes her famous Surinamese chicken, and we eat by candlelight, sharing stories and laughter. When we're done, Jake stands and raises his glass. "To family," he says, "the one you're born into and the one you choose. Thank you for choosing me every single day." "To family," Kiana and I echo, clinking our glasses against his. And as I look around our table, at my wife with tears of pride in her eyes, at my son who's grown into an incredible young man, at the home we've built together through joy and pain, I realize something profound. We almost lost this. We came so close to destroying everything that mattered because we forgot the most important lessons: communicate openly, trust deeply, and always remember that you're on the same team. But we didn't lose it. We fought for it. We chose love over fear, forgiveness over resentment, unity over division. And that choice, that daily, deliberate choice, made all the difference. So let me ask you something, because I think this story isn't just about my family. It's about every family that's ever struggled with blended dynamics, with competing loyalties, with the question of how to love people who didn't start out as yours but became yours anyway. When your family faces its darkest moment, and every family does eventually, will you freeze or will you fight? Will you let fear and pride divide you, or will you choose the harder path of honest communication and vulnerable forgiveness? Will you protect your position or will you protect your people? I chose to fight. Kiana chose to fight. Jake chose to fight. And because we all made that choice, we're still standing here together. Now it's your turn. What will you choose? If this story resonated with you, if you've ever struggled with blended family dynamics, or if you've ever felt caught between people you love, or if you've ever had to choose between being right and being reconciled, I want to hear from you. Drop a comment below and tell me, what would you have done in my position? Would you have signed the papers? Would you have fought back? Would you have walked away? There's no wrong answer, but I genuinely want to know how you'd handle being torn between the person you love and the family you've built. And if you know someone who needs to hear this story, someone navigating the choppy waters of step-parenting, or someone who's forgotten that family is worth fighting for, share this video with them. Sometimes we all need a reminder that even our worst moments can become our greatest teachers if we're willing to learn. Hit that subscribe button if you want more real stories about real families facing real challenges. Because life isn't perfect, families aren't perfect, and pretending otherwise helps no one. But choosing to show up anyway, that's where the magic happens. Thanks for listening to our story. Now go write your own ending, the one where love wins, where family comes first, and where choosing each other matters more than being right. What will your choice be?
Thank you so much for watching, and if you love American Stories, subscribe, like, and comment what you want me to do next.